Okay, welcome back to the latest United pubcast, and it is a Saturday night here in Sydney, Australia, and Saturday night should be very exciting, but unfortunately, we are in lockdown, and it's an extended lockdown. Who knows how long this is going to go for? But it's definitely looking like another couple of weeks, unfortunately. So it's Saturday night. We have absolutely nothing better to do. Well, Larry found something better to do. I'm not sure where he is. But Param and Vin have both been on the podcast before, so we thought we might as well discuss a little bit of Man United because my wife's watching something on the TV and if I'm being honest, I've got no interest at all. So I thought I'd talk a little bit about Man United, obviously. I'll go to Prem first, just in regards, we try not to mention him, but he's part of the story always. Jadon Sancho. The main thing is, why hasn't it been done? We all know the deal's been done. He's had his medical, he's had his photos, everything. The shirt has been released. I'm just thinking, why on earth hasn't it been done? Like, is there a reason, or it's just United just holding out for banter?
I think we're just going to wait for him to get back from pre-season, just his break, obviously, after the Euros. Just wait for that, obviously, and we'll see him hopefully in one or two of the friendlies, maybe even the first game, hopefully against Leeds. I think it'll just be around that time. They'll try and announce all the signings together in hopefully a great video, so that'll be great. But it's definitely annoying this whole week. Every United post, every training photo, it's all just been announced Sancho in the comments. So pretty disappointed though.
Well, Vin, do you think there is something almost from, I don't know whether you call it a legal aspect, but there is something maybe contractually that is holding United back? I saw a good theory yesterday saying, well, the plan might have been to announce it with the shirt sales. However, the shirt sales have come out and apparently doing quite well. So United are thinking, well, we don't really need that Sancho boost now. Well, maybe wait till the shirt sort of drop down a little bit, and then we can throw Sancho's name out there. Do you think there is some sort of business decision behind it, or we're just kind of just fans reading too much into it?
So we do note like United thrives on social media, especially how much likes and hits and traction they are getting socially. And with the release of new kits, and as you said, they're already getting all those likes and interactions around. Probably they're waiting for a day like Monday or Tuesday when the business is a bit medium. There are not much alerts and news related to United coming around, and something like announcing Sancho back then will push their stocks up. So that might be one of the reasons. But yeah, having his medical like kind of close to done and everything being agreed, it does kind of feel a bit frustrating that he's not been announced. But hopefully they announce more than two players at the same time for a change. Let's see if that's how
we just mentioned obviously Jadon Sancho, but Alexis Sanchez. I've just seen a comment here from the Football Capital, another good Australian football podcast, both on audio and YouTube. I've put the comment, said United teaching Sancho how to play the violin, or the Glory Glory Man United song on the violin. Prem, do you think, I wouldn't say United have learned lessons. United are huge business. They're going to sell this thing when he does sort of unveil. Can you see a big announcement video like that? He's not going to be on a piano or anything, but can you see a big announcement video, and that is why they're sort of holding it back?
I certainly hope so. I certainly hope so, because there was obviously Stormzy rapping for the Pogba announcement. I think Sancho's somewhat of a close friend of a couple rappers from the UK, and they were all excited about the United rappers. I think Santan Dave was definitely wanted to do something, but it's always just technicalities with their Nike and Adidas sponsorships that get in the way of those. But I think they will go big on the announcement one way or the other. Let's just hope the announcement's on the pitch, though, against Leeds. I'm just really excited to see him at this point in the red shirt.
Well, the player I'm most excited to see against Leeds is Raphael Varane, for obvious reasons. One, mainly I think we need him. We won't have any fit centre-backs. But I'll just go to Vin. We all know the story around Varane. Obviously, he's a great player. Everyone wants him. He'll definitely want to come to United, whether he wants to stay at Real Madrid more or not, whether it's a financial decision, who knows. Only Varane can answer that himself. But we know the situation. Okay, we definitely want him. Real Madrid going to sell. Time will tell. Now, just at the time of recording now, Spanish reports are suggesting, a couple of big news outlets in Spain are suggesting that a fee has been agreed with Real Madrid. Now, if that is the case, the deal's done, because obviously Varane will, personal terms with United, will have no issue. So if we do agree a fee with Real Madrid, it's pretty much done. Now, the English press are a little bit more hesitant to sort of go sort of that far and say, well, it's not quite done yet. Just your thoughts, without, obviously none of us have a clue, just your thoughts on reading the latest information, where you think the deal does stand.
Well, After our previous experiences with Real Madrid, especially with how Sergio Ramos teased us all throughout the transfer window and then to sign an extension, this one is completely over Varane on what he wants to do. But I would still wait for a tweet from a reliable news source from the English media, like a BBC, or even a tweet from Manchester United, like something that would make the official mark. Till then, all I can do is keep my fingers crossed and hope that this is indeed true, because we all know how much we need a player like Varane in our lineup. But yeah, it's looking at everything Fabrizio Romano had tweeted about it. It all says it's all up to Varane. But again, yeah, it's just like the pessimist me who doesn't want to accept it right away. But yeah, I'll probably play the waiting game and wait till there is an official announcement or at least some more traction around it.
I think every time we see anyone linked to us from one of the big clubs, Barca, Madrid, Bayern, we're always a little bit skeptical, because why are these clubs getting into business with us? Are they not happy with their players? But I think Vin's right. It's definitely up to him at the moment. Varane, he's definitely in control. Just obviously Madrid not having the money at the moment does make that bit of an issue. Maybe they might just be holding out for giving him a bit of a pay cut. But I really want to see him play for United. I think he'd do great with Maguire, and definitely looking forward to that.
Well, Larry is alive. Sorry, Ben, I've just seen a comment from Larry that he is alive, that obviously mentioned that Varane is on holiday enjoying some French cuisine. So, but it will be, just on that, in terms of Real Madrid, you put yourself, Carlo Ancelotti has walked in, obviously well respected at Real Madrid, new manager. He's won it all at Real Madrid, and he's come back there. They've obviously lost a huge influence in Sergio Ramos. Could you imagine a manager walking in there, suddenly you lose Sergio Ramos, who's your captain, then you lose your next centre-back in Rafael Varane? It's a huge overhaul. So can you see a real sort of last-ditch attempt by Real Madrid and Ancelotti to say, okay, we can lose one, you can maybe even lose two, but you can't lose two in the same window, especially in this overhaul sort of thing where they haven't won the league. Obviously, their city rivals won the league. Can you see a real last-ditch where United are paying so much for Varane in terms of personal terms compared to what Real Madrid are? But there's still, as I said, I agree with Vin, a little bit pessimistic to think Real Madrid still could have one last swoop, and unfortunately for United's sake, it could be a successful one for them.
Yeah, I think they're definitely trying to rebuild with the new centre-backs they've got coming through. They've obviously got Militao there. They're interested in Koundé. So I think all the names that were sort of linked to United, Koundé, Pau Torres, you've got all of those as well. So I think the market for them, they'll definitely be in for one of them. I think Larry's in the comments as well saying we lost three of our best centre-backs in the same window.
But when you lose our three... But that's
exactly.
When we lost those three, look where we are 10 years later. We're in an absolute mess because of those decisions back then.
Exactly.
So Real Madrid are a club who will learn from a decision like that. And look, time will tell. But I'll just go to Vin before we move on from the defender. Like, it's not depressing talking about Varane, but it's a little bit sort of hesitant to get excited. But something I am excited about is the potential banter we do have with Arsenal, because they're looking like they're going to have to spend more on Ben White. And from all reports, it looks like they have signed Ben White. Now, look, I'm sure he's going to be a very good player. He's obviously linked with United and Liverpool, so I'm not taking anything away from him. If he signed for United, you'd obviously see the positives and you'd see the reason for getting him. But £50 million, this is a weird one, I think, Vin.
Yeah, it's the British tax as usual. And moreover, if he hadn't made it to the Euro squad, probably he wouldn't have costed that much. Getting into that squad added some more millions of value in it. But yeah, it's a good business for Brighton. But for Arsenal, I wouldn't probably be surprised, but yeah, it's a good approach. But I really hope Ben White does play well over there and click well over there. But to be honest, yeah, if we had an option to get Ben White for 50 million and Varane for like 55 million, let's say, yeah, go for Varane. It doesn't really make any sense.
Well, George Melas has left a comment. So I honestly think Varane wants a new challenge, plus what Perez said about Mourinho and Ronaldo. And Perez is going after absolutely everyone. Anyone is at fire, he's just going for them. He's still going after Ozil, Mourinho. Now he's seemingly sort of driving a wedge between Varane and Ancelotti. So it will be interesting. But the other, George, obviously our supporters club goalkeeper for Man United supporters club here, George, says Alaba is likely to play at centre-back. So they do have that player coming in. But again, you have two world-class centre-backs going out. Just bring in one in. That one needs to adapt. That one needs that sort of reliable sort of partner next to him, which we don't quite have, or which Real Madrid don't quite have. So as good as Alaba might be for them, it is a big overhaul and one that I think Real Madrid will be hesitant to make. So that is where my hesitancy comes from in terms of that they could hit the panic button. But we will move on from Varane and move forward up the pitch. The other news that broke today when we're thinking, are we going to discuss Jadon Sancho? And no news broke, but a little bit of news from The Athletic in the UK broke around Jesse Lingard and that he's likely to stay. Now, me and Larry did a podcast the other week talking about Jesse Lingard's career and the ups and downs about the pros and cons, and sort of we looked at the future and what it may look like. And it was ultimately, look, okay, he's come back to United after his loan spell, but it was a successful loan. Both Lingard will want to move on and United will want to move Lingard on. So it suited all parties. That's all well and good saying that now. But now reality has set in where Lingard has come back to Manchester. So you think of that from a personal and just an individual side of things. He's come back home. He's come back to Manchester. He's wearing the United kit and he's training in the world-class, okay, Carrington could do with a lick of paint, but he's training in a world-class environment. And suddenly he's going, well, hang on, things are pretty good here at Man United. Okay, I did like my time at West Ham, but here I'm going to earn a lot more at Manchester United than I was at West Ham. So it was very easy for us to make that decision, both in Lingard's head and West Ham's head and Man United's head when he was away on loan. But now reality is set in and he's back home in the environment of Manchester United. Suddenly that decision becomes very real for Jesse Lingard, and that decision of United accepting a fee from West Ham becomes very real. It's not a football manager thing where, okay, we'll accept 15 million. United are in a position where technically we can't accept 15 million. We do need 30 million to balance the books. And West Ham is saying, well, we can't afford 30 million. So it becomes very, very real. And it might be very hard to offload Lingard. And the report does suggest that Jesse Lingard does want to stay. So I'll go to you, Prem, first. Just your thoughts on the latest situation with Lingard.
Yeah, I think Lingard's definitely got all the power at the moment. If he wants to stay, he definitely can run down that contract just for another year, I think it is, and then go out and get a big move to wherever he'd like. I think West Ham, if they don't have the money, they're always talking about this Declan Rice swap deal, which I think is really unrealistic, just the amount of paperwork that they'd have to get done and the amount of cash we'd have to splurge out, plus Lingard. So just touching on those things there, I don't think it's really realistic he moves, but I think we will definitely try and offload him, if not now, by January, definitely.
Yeah, well, you mentioned January. That's probably something I never really given much thought, but yeah, if you're looking at it realistically in terms of everyone's approach to the club, West Ham, or whether it be West Ham or another club, Lingard and obviously United, it could very well have the makings of a January signing. But George has left another comment saying if we can't get 25 million for Lingard, it's not worth selling him. He's proven he can turn up in big moments and more than capable of coming in and doing a job. So Vin, do you think there is say worst case scenario in terms of they want to offload Lingard and they can't get rid of Jesse Lingard? Can you see a situation where he's a valuable member of the squad and does contribute, or do you think if he stays at United, he's just going to unfortunately sort of rot away on the bench?
So there is no question about Jesse Lingard's capabilities and also his what he brings to the pitch. But when you looked at him, like when he actually moved to West Ham, his major focus was to be on the starting 11 and play more football, which unfortunately, looking at the depth of the United squad right now with the signings we are making and also the youngsters that are moving towards the first team, those chances are pretty diminishing on a day-by-day basis. But yeah, if he has been given a chance and if he proves himself, and then he would be a valuable squad member for sure. He won't be starting every single Premier League game until or unless he runs through the same purple patch he did under Mourinho. But if not, the best for him is to move to another club like West Ham probably, or even I've been reading reports like even Atletico Madrid is interested for him, which it's just one or two news reports that's coming through. But personally for him, it would be better if he plays more football. But it's all up to how he channels his, his hunger onto the pitch and how he performs.
Well, you mentioned Atletico Madrid there, and I'll go to Prem. Do you think that is a situation? Because 10 years ago, this never happened. An English player would never go to Germany, never go to Italy, never go to Spain. but it has happened once or twice, and I want to get into Kieran Trippier, obviously the Atletico Madrid link. But before we do that, Lingard did take the initiative to go away to West Ham on loan to sort of try to revitalise his career. And we're saying, okay, he could go to West Ham again, or I could imagine another Premier League club. You could throw maybe Tottenham out there. You could see a situation there. But could you see a situation, regardless of United's interest in Kieran Trippier, could you see him maybe going abroad, and especially to Spain? Because as good, I love Jesse Lingard. But I can't see a situation in my mind where the Spanish champions want Jesse Lingard.
Exactly right. I think the link to Atletico is a bit easy to make with the Trippier news, but if we do put that out aside just for a moment, I think he would do really well at Atletico. I think he'd be off the bench. I don't think he'd be starting for that team by any means, but he'd definitely have a role to play in a Diego Simeone team. I'd like to think he'd do really well in Germany and Italy as well if he was given the opportunity, just with the amount of space they have on the counter attack and just his ability to play that 1-2 touch football. I think he'd definitely dominate in those leagues compared to playing for a top 6 Premier League team where you're sort of just breaking down that low block all the time. I think it's definitely his style of play over there.
Well, you make a good point in regards to Simeone in terms of he might sort of suit that system, because Simeone, look, I don't want to compare managers, but if you were to compare him to another well-known manager, Jose Mourinho is probably in that mould where Jose Mourinho was able to get the best out of Jesse Lingard. So there could be a little bit of he might see something in that potentially, who knows. But Rob here said best case for United is keep him and let him go in January, as both of you lads have said, as he should be ready to go for match day 1, which is another thing because the transfer window now goes into the season. Last season or the season before it had that August cutoff sort of thing. But that is an interesting point from Rob there in regards to match day 1. Jesse Lingard is which we discussed in the podcast a couple of weeks ago when we were discussing his career. He is a player that always has a very good preseason. He's sort of a naturally fit guy, so he's always maybe 1 or 2 weeks ahead of someone. So could you see United? I think we might get a little bit of a hint or an answer against Derby County tomorrow. But could you almost see a situation where Solskjaer will really try to take advantage of that and really use him in the first couple of games as, okay, your future's away from Old Trafford, but I can use you in these first 3 games and you can help me?
Vin, what do you think?
Yeah, I think he might use him because especially with the people, with the players coming from their international tournaments and joining the club late, I think Jesse Lingard's availability might even allow Solskjaer to try out new tactics, or probably give him like a final chance, saying like, go ahead, change the game, the first 3 games. If you do it, more like an ultimatum. It's up to you. If you want to be a consistent first team performer, it's up to you how you take these chances. And I still remember like when we were under Mourinho, the first 2 or the second season or the first season, I can't remember now, that when we played against West Ham and we beat everyone like 4-0 or 4-1, Lingard was around the first team squad. So yeah, which does really make your point, Tom, that his preseason is really good. Like he normally performs well in his preseason, but if he can translate that towards the initial league games, it would be good for us, and probably one final thing he does before he says goodbye to his club if things just roll the other way.
Well, going on to sort of Atletico Madrid, which you just mentioned before we wrap up the podcast, in Kieran Trippier. Again, these reports sort of came out of nowhere. They came from, unfortunately, and we all know what sort of people make of the outlet, the Sun newspaper, but the news did come from Neil Custis from the Sun that United were pretty much very ready to finalise the deal for Kieran Trippier. It was around 18, 20 million, which is weird. Sometimes I've heard that 20 million price tag, but then there's other times I've seen 40 or 50 million for Trippier. So look, two different extremes. At 20 million, you sort of snap everyone's hand off for him. At 50 million, you're thinking, absolutely don't touch him at all. So who knows what the price tag is, but I'll go to Param. Do you think, or not do you think there's anything in the Trippier thing? Is because I think United can pretty much confirm that there is. I think there's definite interest, both from Trippier's side, but especially United's side. Where do you sort of sit on the news in terms of how close a deal is?
I think it's really strange, as you mentioned, just with how the price tags were working. They wanted 45, I think. We offered about 25, and now it's all the way down to 18, 20. So it's been really strange, and I don't think his stock's taken a hit during the Euros by any means. He was very good in the later parts. He's definitely much better going in the attacking phase compared to what we have at the moment. So I think the price would probably be a little bit higher So I'm a bit doubtful on that at the moment.
Well, how much would you prioritise a right back, Vin, in regards to? Forget, okay, if he's going to cost 30 million, is that too much? 20 million, is that a bargain? Forget the price tag, just the player. How important it is. We need a centre back. Hopefully that's Varane. A lot of people say we need a centre defensive midfielder. So they're obvious priorities. You'd think a backup right back, okay, because Wan-Bissaka is our right back. If you bring Trippier in, he's ultimately he could definitely overtake Wan-Bissaka, but ultimately you'd think, okay, he's a backup right back. How important is that? Because you'd think off the top of your head, you'd think you don't really need a backup. However, you've seen the importance when Alex Tellez came in for Luke Shaw, and it was almost like our best signing because it sort of improved our first team in sort of a roundabout way. So is it signing a backup right back, as good as he is it a priority, or it's just a bit of a luxury you'd prefer the centre defensive midfielder done first?
I think... Yep. Go on, Vin.
Sorry, if it was for me, I would prioritize the centre defensive midfielder. But we also observed that towards the end of last season, or Aaron Wan-Bissaka, he kind of his intensity lowered down, and it's because he was being overworked. He was literally playing every single Premier League game, and he was not getting much breaks as he should be. So bringing Trippier in can also motivate him at the same time to be more bring more attack mindedness into his game, because defensively he's the best right back we have had in a long time. But looking at that, there was this other question that popped into my mind, like what happens to Diogo Dalot? Because he was, I wouldn't say he was mind-blowing during the Euros, but yeah, he was playing well for AC Milan last season. And if we are going for Trippier, I think Dalot would probably need to move on. And also regarding the fees with Trippier, why is it going down and up? There are other reports coming through that there is a swap between Antoine Griezmann and Paul Niguez. So probably Atletico are trying to get some funds in to pay the high salaries of Griezmann. Probably that might be also the case, but yeah, we can't read too much into it because every newspaper agency are trying up with a new tweet every hour to just put some traction in or just for more likes and comments everywhere. So, but coming back to your question, I would definitely prefer a center defensive midfielder, but with the amount of money we are spending this window, if we are going to keep a limited budget, we might probably go and end up, sign someone who is second best or third best instead of the ones that would have been earmarked by Solskjaer. So,
yeah. Well, I'll just send this question to Vin from George's friends, and if we really see potential, which Larry would very much like this, if we really see potential in Ethan Laird and see Wan-Bissaka as our right back for the next decade, is it necessary to sign Trippier? Before I give it to you, Prem, the reason I agree with that in principle, George. However, what I'm saying there is, or what I would be saying, ideally, if I'm playing a football manager game, yes, that is 100% what I would do. But ultimately, okay, Wan-Bissaka first game of the season does his hamstring, he's out for 6 weeks. Can you really try? It would be great to put Ethan Laird in there and trust him, and fingers crossed, he'd be fantastic. But when Solskjaer is sitting there and his job is on the line, can he trust Ethan Laird? And ultimately, that's a big ask. Can you trust Kieran Trippier? Well, yes, you can. Now, ultimately, Ethan Laird might be better than Trippier. Who knows? But as a manager sitting there, I can understand the manager wanting experience. It's great telling everyone you trust in youth and believe in them, and I'm sure he does. But when it comes to the crunch and your job is on the line, who would you rather, Kieran Trippier to replace Wan-Bissaka or Ethan Laird? I think the safer bet, albeit at a big cost, 20, 30 million, who knows, is Kieran Trippier. So any thoughts on that, Pram?
Yeah, I think just going back slightly to the would you sign a midfielder or a right back debate, I'm actually very much on the other side. I think a right back's much more important at the moment because I don't actually see us clearing out of that midfield position with Scott and Fred and everyone else we have, Nemanja Matic as well.
Andreas Pereira's back.
Just Andreas Pereira as well. So just because of the stockpile we have there, I don't see us actually investing in defensive midfield without someone going out first. And at right back, I think Trippier would be amazing just to have there because it would take the pressure off there. Laird can go out on loan for another full season, see how he is, of course, there. I think we need to definitely utilize the loans for those players until we're definitely sure they can actually fit into our system and definitely get that run in preseason to see how they go as well. But I think
Well,
Trippier is definitely a great addition for us now.
Well, the football capital here, their channel sort of agrees with you, saying Romano has said we won't go in for a defensive midfielder this window, but maybe Camavinga can play that role. Not quite sure. Yeah, as you say, both football capital and you, Prem, I think it's not so much the threat of McTominay and Pereira and Matic and all those players. I think the whole midfield situation and balance that solely depends on Paul Pogba. And we're going to be having that debate until he either signs a contract or the window shuts, and then you're starting to think, well, he's just going to run it down and we're going to lose him for free at the end of the season. So it will be very interesting. I'll just throw, while I've got you, Jonathan has thrown a question up here for you, Prem. Think quick. You don't have to go through the whole 11, just rattle off some names if you do want, but ideal lineup for this season, if everyone's fit, and you can maybe throw a signing or two in there.
Tom Heaton in goal? No, I think
he starts against Derby. I think Tom Heaton will be the first name on the team sheet tomorrow.
For sure. I think we'd go Henderson in goal. We'd have Shaw and Maguire back. I think they'll definitely be back for the first game of the season. We'll see fingers crossed on Varane there, and Wan-Bissaka back as well. And hopefully we can go all out and see Van der Beek, Pogba, Bruno in the midfield one day. That's definitely my dream. And up front, just the main three for me is Greenwood, Sancho, and Rashford, with Cavani off the bench for me. But I know everyone loves Cavani a bit more than me, but that's just my opinion.
Do you have any not outside the box shouts, Vin, but a name that probably wouldn't spring to mind with everyone starting 11? Because it kind of does almost pick itself a little bit. Obviously, opinions change here or there. But is there a player who doesn't spring to everyone's mind that you do want to see as a first-team player?
Yeah, probably Anthony Martial was missing from Pram's starting lineup. So, but yeah, I would put him on the bench, and I would probably give a run in for Elanga. Probably he might probably move to the first squad sometime, because with Rashford missing out on the injuries, and Dan James, who's like not always 100% in the performance, and with Martial, we never know how he clicks and how he fits. So I'd probably like to see Elanga start some games. So yeah, that would be one of my other addition other than Martial.
Well, you said that. I think Rob's just left a comment here saying Dan James. I think Dan James, Lingard's in that category, but also Anthony Elanga. And again, I mentioned this on the last one. In terms of, I've not seen him in the gym, but the footage of him in the gym, he's a big boy and he looks fit for this time of season, which obviously Dan James will be fit. I know he's had the Euros, but you assume he's going to come back very fit. Jesse Lingard, and I think especially against a team like Leeds, regardless, it's the first part of the season, the type of game we have to start off the season, it is a game where you need legs and you need runners. So we could see a front three of, look, I don't think it's going to happen, but you wouldn't be shocked to see Anthony Elanga and Dan James either side. That won't happen. But in terms
fingers crossed that doesn't happen, Tom, with all the signings we've got.
But Smalling and Jones in the defense.
But as the football couple says, Rashford's going to be out for a few months. I'm not sure of Martial's situation. Is Cavani going to be back? Who knows how that front three will shape up in the in that first game against Leeds? But we definitely will discuss that game in future weeks. Obviously, tomorrow is the Derby County match, first game of pre-season. George has commented there saying Lee Grant is the captain. I think there's a rumour coming out. I think you were discussing yesterday, Vin, which is kind of everyone sort of assumed, but it wasn't quite there, that, okay, Lee Grant has signed this contract, but more and more is coming out. He's actually not really going to, not that he would play anyway, but there's not really a playing aspect to his contract. It is almost leaning towards a coach, and he is actually not going to be registered as a player. So it will be interesting. Not that that changes anything, but it will be interesting. It would be nice to see maybe Heaton and Lee Grant get 45 minutes each tomorrow, but we will be back. We might not do anything pre-match. We'll definitely do something post-match on Monday, which will also go up on the audio-only podcast. Our Mondays and Thursdays episodes will definitely stay the same. We'll do them here on YouTube, but they'll definitely be available to download in your podcast app. Now, Saturday night, first of all, I appreciate everyone in the comments and watching. Everyone, a lot of the Australian listeners, obviously in lockdown as well, so nothing better to do. So we appreciate you commenting and getting involved. As we said, in terms of, you could go onto a Big Man United YouTube channel, and if you want to leave your comment, one, you might have to pay for the comment, or it could get lost in absolute tens of thousands of comments. So it might as well come in here for us, and we can pretty much read your comment, we can discuss it, and yeah, it is far more interactive, I feel. So I'm enjoying doing these. I know Larry will be back on Monday to discuss the Derby County. Hopefully not a defeat. I wouldn't be shocked, though, because I think there's the type of thing.
I would not be surprised.
It will be interesting, but I'm very much appreciative of all the support and feedback we've had. And make sure You're holding your phone now. Takes 2 seconds. If you can click like and make sure you're subscribed, all done. That makes me very happy. Very much appreciative. And yeah, we'll chat to you after the Derby County match. Fingers crossed, a good result, and more importantly, a good performance and no injuries. So thanks, Vin and Param. We'll chat to you soon.
See you, boys.
See